get confused by some complicated legal jargon.
Like words like, you're sued and you're fired. Our friends at Del Rio and Caraway are breaking down the latest stories in the world of law in another installment of Sidebar.
It is time for your Sidebar this morning. Hanging out this morning, Del Rio and Caraway. Always great to see you both. Thanks so much. We're going to start with the Tesla. Once again, back in the news, right? So a German court has ordered Elon Musk to pay for a Model 3 vehicle because apparently the client was saying that the Autopilot wasn't working. So what does this mean for future ramifications?
So in this particular case, you have a German resident. He buys a $76,000 Tesla. He got a $7,000 upgrade so that it would have Autopilot.
Right.
But he was saying with the Autopilot, it was driving like a drunk driver or a novice driver. He'd come into corners, it wouldn't turn right, the overtaking was not recognizing certain stoplights, things like that. So the future ramifications here are, we have to recognize that in the very real future, this is probably going to become standard on all cars. And so if you're driving and it's on Autopilot and something goes wrong and it causes an accident, who's going to be responsible? It's kind of a new area of law. But if you look at it, it'll probably pull from other areas of law. Because you have the user who's probably going to still need to be able to take over if there's some sort of emergency, and you'll have negligence on their part.
Right.
But then you also have product liability, because there's a reasonable belief that you should be able to rely on this Autopilot. And so if it goes wrong, then Tesla is also partially going to be responsible. So it's going to come down to partially user, partially product liability.
Okay. All right.
Kind of like cruise control?
Like cruise control, but on steroids.
On steroids, okay. All right, next story. This is a local story that happened earlier this month. A hit and run that happened in Elk Grove that killed a 67-year-old woman. So again, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so it's a tragic story,
Yeah.
obviously. You know, 2:45 in the morning, car appears to go off the road and hit her literally on the sidewalk. Hit and run. The big significance that comes from this is, unfortunately, hit and runs do occur. There's very little people can do in the moment to try to chase the person down, get an ID. You're lucky if it occurs. So what this comes back to quite often is we keep trying to get the word out there that people need to insure themselves well. And obviously this is a delicate situation. It was so terrible, but again, you can only rely upon yourself to carry adequate insurance. Most people don't know what that is in California. They keep saying they have full coverage. There's no such thing. You need to look at your limits, and your limits need to cover your situation. In a situation where someone's horribly hurt, we've all heard medical bills can be tens of thousands of dollars. So good uninsured motorist coverage is the only way to protect you and the people in your car.
All right. Okay, good reminder for us all, right? Just to be safe. All right, thank you both so much. Del Rio and Caraway once again with our insight for this morning's Sidebar. Back over to you.
All right.
If you've got some legal questions, you can always reach out to Del Rio and Caraway.